Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Pyre. Leaving off right where we left off, in this dire circumstance of having to fight. I'm worried, because the essence, Pamitha, she schooled me last time. They're gonna have something like 150 Pyre to beat down, and they're gonna do extra damage each. It's gonna suck, is all I can say. Wilfred looks up at as you approach and smiles. I never thought I would say such things, my girl, but it is good to wear the raiments in the right once more. The march of time does have a way of healing certain hurts. Besides, the Nightwings of today, we are very different from the Beast and the Triumvirate, which took me in almost a decade ago. Ours was a Triumvirate of exactly 3. Well, 4 with Tizo, who proved to be an exception, though historically the Nightwings never took on more exiles than needed. I have mentioned my predecessor, Brighton, and my former companions, Erisa and Oralek. Brighton. Perhaps naively, I hoped my time with them would not be relevant directly to what we now attempt. But seeing our stories are now intertwined, do let me know if there is more you wish to learn of them. Can I ask them everything? I think we can ask... No, first off, I'm mostly interested in Oralek. The demon who you met, what was he like before? Were he and Wilfred close? Listen to the music, the plucking of the violin. Or... It's just, uncomfortable. You ask about Oralek? What Oralek was like when he and Wilfred first became acquainted. Wilfred remained silent for some time. I was very, very sick, you know. I forgot to set my timer. I was very, very sick, you know, when I first landed in the downside. The long trip down the river must have been a little much for me. It was Oralek who found me. He could not have known of my capacity to read before he revived me. He was a physician, intolerant of the sight of suffering of any kind. Not just any physician, mind you, a gifted, highly decorated one. He served on the front. Back then, skirmishes erupted frequently, and those such as Oralek, they had to deal with many casualties on either side. In time, he said he grew repulsed by what he saw. This sowed in his heart a yearning for an end to all the bloodshed, so he tried to use his status to negotiate a treaty with the High-Wing remnants. It must have gone about how you'd expect. He was given direct orders to return to the front, but when he refused to soil his hands again, they cast him to the downside. Here he gained the notice of the Nightwings, and before long he grew to be one of the finest right conductors anyone had ever seen. He was instrumental in the liberation of his companions, whose role in the Triumvirate were later filled by Erisa and me. In time, Oralek's own opportunity for freedom had come up. He longed for it, so that, with his exalted status, he might stand a better chance of negotiating peace. However, on the evening of his liberation, well, you know the story from that point. Wilfred breathes a heavy sigh. He and I were kindred spirits for a while. I could not bear to think he was gone, and now I still cannot entirely believe that he is back. He is our adversary now, transformed, grown cold. Still, part of me is happy that he lives, he said while smiling. Make no mistake, of course, I shall not be swayed against our plan, which is 60%, not by Oralek or anyone. As I have said before, we share a higher calling now. As for Oralek, he wants his freedom still, although I wonder if he still remembers why. Anyway, was there something else, my girl? Absolutely. Tell me about Brighton, the person who was set for freedom. No. Wait, Brighton was the guy before. Oh, Brighton! Sorry. You inquire about Brighton, who you understand was liberated prior to when Wilfred first joined the Nightwings. I never might... Oh, wait. I said something wrong an episode or two ago. Never mind that. I never met Brighton in person, but I know him rather well by now, though. For that matter, my girl, so do you. He studies your reaction for a moment. Then, Brighton was born wealthy, but not special otherwise. You would have no reason to have heard of him. He was exiled for negligent misconduct. I do not know exactly why and do not care for spreading rumors. I first heard of him through Erisa and Oralek, who found in me a suitable replacement following his liberation. They spoke little of him. Oralek gave the impression that they did not see eye to eye, but he assured me I soon would hear from him myself. Indeed, as I became accustomed to the book which you know well by now, I soon began to hear the voice. Wilfred looks at you, as if to see if you yet take his meaning. You see, my girl, after Brighton's liberation, he assumed a new identity within the Commonwealth and a new responsibility to the Triumvirate, which liberated him. The voice you hear from time to time, whensoever the stars align, it's his. He is no longer Brighton, he is now none other than Archjustice Androboles the Ninth himself, the Grand Judge and figurehead under whose watch the Commonwealth is governed in this day. Those who violate the law of the Commonwealth face sentencing by the appointed Archjustice. Liberated exiles retain certain burdens to their old triumvirates. They have much to thank for them for, not just their freedom, but their exalted status in the Commonwealth. The theocratic rulers of the Commonwealth, they do not wear masks and raiments, simply for the sake of ceremony. They are not who they appear to be. Oh my god, they wear the masks and raiment in like sort of like a respect for their public past are nothing but a fabrication. Like Brighton, they once were exiles too. Brighton, that voice, he has no love for either one of us by now. He knows full well what we attempt to do, yet he is bound by the tradition of the rites. He shall always stand on ceremony and complain, but I think he knows deep down that he is powerless. He starts smirking. How ironic that one of such high status in the Commonwealth should be so frightened of some long-forgotten exiles such as we. Anyway, that's Brighton for you. He must have seen in you the potential to be one of his staunch supporters. For a time, if that's a path you'd wanted to pursue, I should apologize. Now then, whom else should we talk about? Tell me about Orisa. She betrayed Aurelek, causing the Nightwings to fall apart. Why would she do such a thing? And is the Nightwings being split, is that really the cause for the stars disappearing? Is that really because the Nightwings are the triumvirate against which all other triumvirates get made? You will find out in the Book of Rites, the Nightwings were made by all the scribes as such a benchmark. The true Nightwings, I mean, the Nightwings are the ninth triumvirate. We'll see about that. It's just something we're thinking about. You ask about Orisa, who you understand betrayed Aurelek at that moment of his liberation, but then perished in the Shimmer Pool. I'm afraid you know the brunt of it, my girl, but I suppose you ought to know something of Orisa's past, lest you be quick to judge her solely by her actions. Mind you, I would never make excuses for the terrible choice she ultimately made, but her life, I understand, was very difficult. Orisa had been exiled for the foulest of acts. You could see it plainly branded on her face. Can you see it on her? Oh, can you see it on like her forehead? Such was the heinousness of what she did in the eyes of the Commonwealth. She was an apprentice blacksmith in her youth, taking up the post left by her brother. He had fallen in the battle on the Blood Border despite wielding their father's own lance and armor. Her father never quite recovered after this and had grown cruel and detached. It was Orisa who took the brunt of his fury. He expected the impossible of her. One day it was all too much for her, so when he next lashed out at her, she struck back. She struck back again and again and again. And when they came for her, her father was gone, and she was not herself. She was properly cast into the downside for her crime, where her hatred for the Commonwealth only grew. Orisa always was intense in her demeanor, haunted by her father's memory. More than that, her chief motive for wanting back her freedom was, in hindsight, not a healthy one. She longed to join our nation's enemies, to build the Highwing Remnants, a great siege engine that could shatter the defenses of the Commonwealth, and forever end our feud. What she ultimately did to Aurelek, it was an act of pure and thoughtless desperation. I do not think that it was simply evil, nor do I think that it was personal. I often wonder, though, if in her final moments in the Shimmer Pool, she understood what she had done and the depths to which she had fallen. For years, I must admit, I hated her, but now my only hope is that she found a peace untenable during her relatively short life in the Downside and the Commonwealth. Furthermore, I hope the life of Orisa offers some perspective yet to those of us who have not made the same mistakes. Now then, was there something else? Damn, dude. Wait, was her crime that she beat her father, or was it her crime that she wanted to actively pursue the Highwing? Man. Was her father important, I wonder? You bid Volfred a good afternoon and leave him with his memories. My pleasure, reader. Reflecting on the past from time to time helps demonstrate how far we've come, yet how much farther we have yet to go. Oh boy. Do I start the liberation right now? I want to read the Book of Rites. But I also, what's the next chapter? We've done Celestial Landmarks. The Greatest Titans. We have Rites of the Flame, the premise of the competition, the 9 triumvirates, and on the Commonwealth. You know, I'm going to break my own rule. This is not going to be another rite. I'm actually going to read. I'm going to read this. I'm going to have a break. I'm going to end. This is going to be the last episode of the batch, and I'm going to practice in the background. In the meantime, we are going to read about the Greatest Titans. So, for all intents and purposes, this is the end of the episode if you don't care about the Greater Titans or any of the lore. So, a short episode, I know. Thank you. Ta-ta and farewell. I might start the right at the very end of this episode. Probably not, but thanks so much for watching. See you next time. As for those who stick around, the Greater Titans. In the words of Under King Ori's The Sea Sojourner, the stars shine strange beneath the sea. This one dared rise from the waters so that he could see them plain, the burning essence of those who came before. Our lives are but a quest to join the stars. This one longed to be the brightest, but in the downside, this one met those whose own stars shall doubtless burn at least as hot. Together, we achieved great deeds. You may have seen some evidence of it, the remains of the greater titans which once darkened this dark land, but in our kinship was the strength to conquer them. It is this one humble's charge to chronicle those deeds, and may the titan stars never stain the sky during your time. Oh my god, it says so there. May the titan stars never stain the sky during your time. Oh man. I was going to do a Gilman voice, but then changed my mind. There we are. Andriga the Widow. Andrija? It sounds better, Andrija. The boundless sea of Solace and a blackened star are all that of what remains of the blood titan Andriga. After this one's exile, he was joined by many of his bravest worm knights who awakened the blood titan inadvertently while searching the downside's murky depths. Andrija was most pleased to see her hibernation end and vowed to 4 ages of torment on us and on our sea dominion. Our assault was grander than can be described and lasted days and days and days. The noblest of worm knights fell upon her massive form as waves which dashed themselves against the rocks. Our resolves eventually exceeded hers, and she collapsed into the seas and dispersed. This one alone remained to tell of it. The sun grise, in the words of Undercrook, blah blah blah. Know you the sacred Mount Elodiel, the highest peak within the lowest land? Then know that this is no mere mountain, but the fractured bonework of the world titan himself, the archbeast Sangreese. This one's bog-dwelling companion Melith is too mild in her account of our ascent. 'Twas not a pleasant mountain hike, but a pitched battle spanning 17 full moons, 1.5 years. Finally, the 8 of us, we climbed atop the brow of the old Sangreese. We merged our strength and struck the mortal blow, such that the archbeast shattered finally to pieces. 'Tis no mere myth that from the archbeast's eyes the shimmer pool emerged, the sole means of freedom from this land. My mistake, I kept thinking it was Islach, the Astralborn. That's the world titan. Islach is what the book is made of. How very crafty of our muzzled friend Dromua, the one quite so diminutive, Biolanthius, as he did manage to prevail against the hive titan called Biolanthius. The spoiler of the valley, Biolanthius did fall at last into a deadly trap, which doubtless he deserved. Crushed under the weight of 16,000 tons of beetle dung, he was, though how our Dromua gathered all this stuff, only to send it crashing down, he has refused to say. From the hive titan flowed a fresh, rejuvenating spring, which gladdens up the valley's desolation quite a bit. As for Dromua, why, he and his legendary jawblades set a most impressive mark of valor, to which this one aspires. Impressive work, Dromua. Neat. Neato. Dullness, the locker. Which one is this? Oh, it's the hammer. Doubtless you have seen the black basin, whose seething fissures yet spew nauseous flame and vapor of the stars. Then you have seen the remnants of the wrath of dullness. Excuse me just a sec. Something's happening off screen, that's fine. Then you have seen the remnants of the wrath of dullness, also called the Locket, for within himself he held the fires and the rage which shaped this very land. The Ash Titan he did threaten to devour us as we delved deeper into the reaches of the downside, till we at last outsmarted him, quenched his flames we did, when we lured an inauspicious storm his way. And so, whilst the Ash Titan has fled, the sopping coward, we can see his handiwork remains. The blackened crags shall forever speak the danger which he posed. Next, Limbless Arizek. Oh, is that the Titan of the woods? Yeah. If this one is to be honest, he never expected his high-minded friend Luce Glorian ever to raise his arms. And yet, 'twas Glorian alone who toppled the root titan which befouled the serenity of Wakingwood. Glorian, he brought to bear the might of his entire family of willful saps, contained within his ancient gnarled staff. Soon did the poisoned soil of Limbless Arizek begin to dissipate. The root titan cried out a deafening last cry, and withered to a speck. Arizek yet lives, a husk, a single foul seed, still rotting where once something mighty stood. Sklorian, in his mercy, deigned that the surrounding woods ought to grow bold and strong by casting off the influence of Arizek, not by forgetting him. That's clever. So Arizek is kind of always there, a pressure to keep improving. Lord Gandroth, a warrior of surpassing strength, Galathanian. Single-handedly, he slew the serpent titan Gandroth, which envenomed downside prairies, verdant plains. Master General Galathanian, he was undeterred by Lord Gandroth's myriad attacks. His lashing tail impelled rocks the shape of swords, and thrice as sharp, his eyes reduced brave folk to mewling babes. But Galathanian stood tall and brandished his tower shield and sent Lord Gandroth's fury back into his monstrous countenance. Now Lord Gandroth takes the shape of a stone ridge, conspicuous, and now as well you know the full, unguarded truth about his fearsome past and Galathanian's glory. Man, for a second there, I just realized I'm facing off against the essence. I'm gonna lose. Unfathomed Plonies. In all of this one's conquest, never has the Underking confronted such a foe as the sea titan Plonies. That grand and hideous wench presented nigh inestimable peril for whomever sailed or swam the downside sea. Tale of her monstrosity long spread across the world. The Underking was undeterred, nay, this one made it his life's mission to give her recompense. Emboldened, having felled her cousin Andrija, he drew her out of hiding and then sailed the reins of Dazraban, the doomed ship, with its sharpened prow straight through her heart. Huzzah! The catastrophic detention. So, the person who wrote this, the worm, Underking Ores, was the one who killed her. The catastrophic detonation which ensued left no living surviving witness save one. The Underking survives to speak of it and write of it, which he shall do repeatedly. And we have here the... Oops, sorry, wrong button. Time Singer Han. The tempest ravaging the downside are the handiwork of the Time Singer Han, known as the Sky Titan, the furious elements. They are his troubled dreams manifested in this troubled land. We, the Eight, we sought to cure him of his ailment, for his unrelenting and unpleasant dreams had long become our treacherous reality. One night we drew him towards the rite of flame, a stratagem of Solia Mer's design. There he was stricken by the stars and dazed, overcome by their eternal, shining glory. The Sky Titan thus bonded with the sky. The tempest which remains, they are but lasting traces of his waking dream. That's him there. Ah, Islach, the astral born. The foul name of the Star Titan is written here but once. Do not invoke it lest you aid its reawakening. It sups upon despair and fear and doubt, and lands such as our own. 'Twas our mighty mistress Melith who tracked the astral born's monstrosity within its loathsome pit, where it lay nursing wounds sustained from travelling across the stars in search of simple prey. The wicked astral born could drive a lesser creature. This is basically a Lovecraftian horror, by the way. The wicked Astralborn could drive a lesser creature to the brink of sanity with a mere passing glance. But no, not Melith. She cast upon the fiend 100 words of binding, each one more binding than the last. With the creature's incandescent skin, we bound this book and bound ourselves onto the stars. Oh, there's more. Zilvius Horse-Headed. Without warning, there's a lot more titans than I remember. My god. 12 of them, if I recall. Without warning, from the cinders and the seething rock that gushed forth from the sea and the soil at the foot of the Black Basin, rose the mad titan Zilvius. She broke the land beneath her burning hooves, whinnying vengeance upon those who thwarted dullness. We, the Eight, we were divided then, and blinded by the smoke, and heat, and thunder. But the grace of Mother Trieste Tithys, all but for the grace, all would have been lost. With unswerving concentration did Saint Trieste then invoked the old enchantments inscribed upon the holy scepter which she bore. The land burst into starlight, rending Zilvius in twain. Her visage now strikes fear in the hearts of her foul kind, not ours. Of her foul kind, huh? But she's pretty, and she has boobs. Oh, this one. This is the important one. The Tattered Mantle. Well known is the treachery of the rope caller, Kalamer, who conspired against the Emperor of Sauliamer, and set in motion the Empire's collapse. The knave did journey to the downside after us, our paths they never crossed, though he did meet his end. He wore the tattered mantle wrought by the first Empress, and worn in every generation hence. The living mantle whispered wisdom into its wearer's ear, but in the downside, it cried out instead, in protest. When the rope caller retreated to his horrid isle far at sea, the mantle gained new life, conjoining with the native imps. The imp titan was born, and grasped then the rope caller in its first and last embrace. Oops, sorry. That there, the tattered mantle. Soliat Mer probably wore that at some point as well. Wow. A lot more than I realized. Shaxx Six Shoulders. Much can be learned of his bravery from the tale of Hawub the Swallow, the imp who alone felled the muscular and altogether terrifying bone titan called Shaxx Six Shoulders. Shaxx Six Shoulders sit listless, his appalling frame refusing to be budged. None dared approach the withered fiend whose plague had spread half across the valley's floor. Undeterred, Hawub sprang into action whilst we but watched. The little one, he flew into the gaping maw of Shaxx, lodged himself inside the monster's throat. Shaxx began then to cough and cough and cough until the valley shook. Six Shoulders breathed his last and fell. His putrid flesh then fizzled and was gone, yet our friend imp remained. That sounds like something straight out of some kind of Greek mythology. Where, I don't know, like, not Oedipus, what's his face? Odysseus would outsmart his opponent by putting something in their food to make them choke and then suffocate to death from choking. Anyways, that actually brings the end to that chapter of the book. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for your patience. I'm very apprehensive to go do the liberation rite against the Essence and against Tamitha, I mean. I keep getting the names mixed up. In any case, thank you for watching up to this point. Stay tuned. There's going to be a really scary liberation rite coming up ahead. Until then, hope to see you in the future. Bye.